everybody, it's Mr. Gray here. Thank you again for another great week. Next week is actually a full week, and that's going to lead us into the Thanksgiving week. So I'm going to go over a few of the dates coming up. Like I said, next week, the 15th to the 19th, is a full, normal schedule week. And then on Friday, the 19th, you can look at the report cards online starting at 2 p.m., so right after school. Of course, if you have questions after that, email me, and of course we can meet or talk about it anytime, no problem. And of course, going forward, we can always meet or talk anytime anyway, whether or not report cards are coming out. But the other thing about that is that next week we're visiting the book fair on Tuesday. So Mrs. West Simon, our librarian, should be sending out some information on how to do some shopping before you go, so the kids have an idea of what they might want to buy. You as parents can make an e-wallet, so you can put money in ahead of time instead of just giving cash to your students, and you can choose what they're allowed to buy. So you could say you can choose books but not posters, or posters but not this, and so that'll be a great thing. And I think Miss West Simon should be sending that out, or maybe they did send it out already. That's happening on Tuesday, like I said, the 16th. Also, Tuesday the 16th is Chick-Fil-a restaurant night. A couple months ago, there was a Chipotle night where part of the funds raised come back to the school. It's the same thing with Chick-fil-A on Tuesday the 16th. Then after next week, the week after is Thanksgiving week, and we have a normal school day on Monday the 22nd and a minimum day on Tuesday the 23rd, and then the kids are off of school Wednesday, Thursday, Friday the 24th, 25th, and 26th. Okay, so that's the big things coming up. And then we'll get into the last little stretch before the winter break. Okay, so next week in class, in Reader's Workshop, we're going to start wrapping up our nonfiction section for now. And right after Thanksgiving, we'll kind of wrap that up, and then we'll finish off with a little bit of fiction, and then we'll come back after the break and in the new year with some more fiction studies. But next week, we're going to be looking at narrative nonfiction, which is slightly different than fiction, or excuse me, the nonfiction also. And so we'll be comparing and contrasting nonfiction, fiction, narrative nonfiction, how they overlap, as well as studying how narrative nonfiction goes. In Writer's Workshop next week, the kids are going to finish publishing their second information book, and we're going to host an information fair to celebrate our work. Basically, the kids are going to be able to share out and teach others about what they wrote about. I think that's going to be good practice for right before winter break. We're going to try to host an information fair outside where other classes can visit. So that'll be a fun thing to do. In math, we're going to start switching from multiplication to division. Keep working on those multiplication facts. Check that progress report that I sent home to you, which is a Google Doc. As I meet with kids throughout the week, I'm checking off how I see them doing, or I'm showing where they need to keep practicing. And they'll get some practice time at school, of course, but even 5 or 10 minutes at home every day makes a really big difference. And like I said, we'll switch to division kind of as the instruction piece. And what that's going to look like is two things. First, we're going to kind of make the connection between multiplication and division. And we're really going to try to have kids draw out and make representations and see the connection between 3 times 5 equals 15. And then I also know that that means 15 divided by 5 equals 3, and 15 divided by 3 equals 5. I see that those factors and the product go together, and I can see that there's the quotient, and I know that those two things that make that. So those are all the things that kind of we're looking at. Oh, and the second way is we're going to talk about how equal sharing or equal groups. So you can imagine if there are 15 students and I don't know, or I'm sorry, there's 15 pieces of pizza that I'm splitting between 5 students, how many is each student going to get? And we're going to start just by drawing and saying, okay, well, here's, I'm going to count. The student gets 1, the next student gets another, the next student gets another, and I'm going to, show that I can, see how many pieces go to each student. And then we'll do that in some other ways. So we're kind of attacking division from different fronts. And that, I think, will be really helpful. And that'll take us through the end of to the end of break. And again, the kids, once they get through multiplication facts, will be working on division facts. And so that's why that practice is so important. In social studies, we'll continue studying the early settlement of California in the Southwest United States and also Mexico, that whole area. And we'll talk about the relationships between settlers, Europeans, and Native Americans, and the good and the bad of that. And then in science, we keep looking at forces, and specifically we're going to talk about the forces involved in tug of war. And the same thing with soccer last week. We're not actually doing tug of war, although we might talk about it a little bit and what that looks like. We're really trying to think about how the pushes and pulls are affecting those involved. So, if I'm pulling, how is that affecting the other person? And what if we're pulling at different amounts? And what if I add a third person? And how do the forces change? And you can imagine, we're trying to have the kids kind of put like arrows, like, well, the force is going this way, or it's canceling each other out. Those are some of the words that we're using, but that's what's happening in science, okay? So as always, if you have questions, go ahead and email me. We can set up a Zoom call anytime. You're not gonna get a weekly update video from me next week leading into the Thanksgiving week because it's just a couple days. So you'll hear from me probably after that. And then, of course, we'll get into our last few weeks of school, okay? We'll have a great week, a great weekend, a great normal week, and then a great Thanksgiving week, whatever you're doing. And we'll talk to you after that. Have a great day. Bye-bye.